Hey, welcome to ASMRtists Around the World, a series where we learn about cultures in a relaxing way. Today, we are traveling to Scotland with Scottish Undertones ASMR. I will be asking him a bunch of questions with my handy dandy travel journal. So, thank you so much for joining us today.
Thank you for having me.
All right, let's get started. Tell us who you are and where around the world you're from.
Okay, my name is Muzz, and I am from Scotland. Edinburgh in Scotland, to be specific.
Now, what would you say are some of the most relaxing things to do in Scotland?
I would say it would be very similar to anywhere, really, but specifically, one thing that I really like doing, more so in Scotland than anywhere else that I've been fortunate enough to live, and that is driving, I would say. Mostly because the roads in Scotland are really windy and really hilly, and most of the cars are manual or standard, so it can be a lot of fun and pretty relaxing just to go for a wee drive.
I could definitely see that. As long as, I don't have to worry about sharp corners and turns, then that sounds really relaxing.
Yeah, we don't really have the big, multi-lane highways, and I mean, we do have some, but a lot of what we call the B roads are still really popular, and because it's such an old country, there are so many towns and so many villages, and it's so many ways to get places, so you can always really explore new roads and new towns and villages and stuff like that. So it could be a lot of fun.
That's cool. So, okay, tell us a little more about the language in Scotland. What are some common Scottish phrases?
Okay, so where I'm from in Edinburgh, and I'm not sure if you know, but in Scotland, as in a lot of perhaps the older countries, the language can be quite regional. So there may be a saying in Edinburgh that you don't get in Glasgow, for example. So
Interesting.
yeah. The one that comes to mind that is very popular, even today sometimes you still hear it, is Lang may your lumreek. I'll just say that again.
Yeah.
That's long or lang. I would say long. Everybody's slightly different though. Long may your lumreek, which translated means long may your chimney smoke.
I still don't know what that means.
So that would be to give blessings to someone, hoping, if your chimney is smoking, then that means you've got fuel and that you're warm and you're doing well for yourself.
Oh.
So it would actually be quite a popular thing to wish upon someone at Christmas and New Year. Long may your lumreek would be wishing them energy and power and warmth and happiness. So, another one that my mum says for me all the time is, "What's for ye, will no go by ye," which basically means that if it's meant to be, then it will happen.
I like that.
So, yeah. It's kind of like fate, I guess.
Yeah.
So.
But it sounds nicer when it's said in Scottish.
Yeah. Yeah. Another one that I say to my children quite a lot. Now, they're getting quite good at picking up Scottish phrases, and they even repeat them back to me sometimes, is "Haud your wisht," which is basically be quiet. So wisht would be quiet or silence, and haud was hold. Yer is your, so hold your silence. Haud your wisht.
So, as an ASMR artist, do you have to say that to them a lot?
Well, sometimes, children can be a little noisy sometimes, so. Another common Scottish phrase where I'm from would be, "I'm away to get the messages." Now that sounds like you're away to get the mail, but messages in Scotland, especially amongst a lot of the older generation, means your groceries. So if you say you're away to get the messages, that's your way to get your groceries. So it's another one that we say. Yeah. And I think the last one I could think of, and this is specific to where I'm from too, is any phrase that includes the word ken.
Ken?
Now, it's mostly an East Coast Scottish word, which comes from, I believe, the German word kennen, which means to know something. So if I say I don't know something, I would say I dinna ken. Or if I know someone, I would say I ken them. So it would be common for me if somebody in my house asks me where the remote control for the TV is, I would just say I dinna ken. I dinna ken where it is. So
Is it like is it just because it's faster than just saying the word no? Or it's just another way to say it?
It's another way to say it, but there is a tendency I find with Scottish dialects, and this mostly is a modern slang. There is a tendency to shortcut everything. If there's a quicker, shorter way of saying it, then we'll do that. And I don't know if you've ever looked on Scottish people Twitter or on Reddit. It's pretty cryptic. It can be quite cryptic and quite amusing at some of the ways that Scottish people have shortened things. So, yeah.
Now, I believe you also made a video about Scottish insults.
Yeah.
I would love to hear a couple of them, but, the PG version ones, of course.
Yeah. So, I think, the video I made with the insults had a few that were quite graphic, so we might need to leave those ones.
So if you guys want those, make sure to check out his channel.
Yeah. Another one that I jokingly say to my children sometimes is, "You're going to get a scalp round the lug." So that would mean a slap in the ear. So a lug would be your ear, and a scalp would be a slap. Now, would never actually do that, but it does sound quite funny.
I like that. And it's very oddly specific.
Exactly. That's why I think that's why I like it. It's really specific for some weird reason. Yeah. You're going to get a scalp in the lug, a slap around the ear, and the daily one that I get accused of every day, which is pretty PG but borderline, would be Daddy is talking pish again, or stop talking pish, which just means stop talking nonsense, of course. So, but we'd say it pretty quickly, maybe a bit too quick for this ASMR video.
Perfect. Now, okay, another question I have, and I actually first learned about this from one of my subscribers who commented, telling me that Scotland's national animal is a unicorn. I did not know that before I got like that comment on my channel, and I just, first of all, why? This is amazing.
Yeah, I don't know if Scotland's alone in choosing a mythical animal as its national symbol. I would have thought that maybe some other older European countries may have done something similar, but I don't know. But as I understand it, it's a Celtic mythological thing. The unicorn is supposed to be a symbol of purity and innocence, and then it can't be tamed. And in fact, I believe the symbol in Scotland's case, the unicorn, has a golden chain around it, and it is something to do with not being able to tame it, I believe. So that might be quite relevant for Scotland in general, I think.
Yeah.
As it pertains to some of its history, especially with the Romans.
I definitely could see that.
Yeah, there was like a Roman frontier that ended at northern England, called Hadrian's Wall. Actually, I think there was a few walls. And beyond that, it was considered an untamed wilderness. So I think maybe that's why the unicorn was chosen.
Well, I love it. Scotland did a good choice there. Now, word on the street is you own a kilt. Can you show it to us?
Sure. I've got it right here. So, let me just, don't have a lot of room here, but this is my kilt, and I really love this kilt. It is handmade. It has all these fancy pleats and stuff on the back. It's of course my clan tartan, and it has a little pin with, I don't know if you can see that on the camera, but it has well, actually, if you want to see it in more detail, I do have a video about it as well. But I will tell you that this particular kilt has basically a connection to all three places that I've lived. It is a Scottish kilt made with Scottish fabric. It was handmade in New Zealand, where I lived for 12 years.
Wow.
And it was handmade in New Zealand by a Nova Scotian guy, which is where I live now. So it just seems to be the perfect kilt for me.
All coming full circle.
Yeah.
I actually can't see Muzz right now because we're both recording separately, so I just am trying to visualize his kilt and can't wait to see it later.
I should probably try and do some like fabric sounds or something with it, but
Feel free if you would like.
yeah, I'll do that for a wee minute. But I don't like, it's not the sort of thing you wear very often, and it's also the sort of thing that technically should last forever. And I think I've had it for about 13 years now, 12 years, and it feels brand new. As long as you hang it up, look after it, should last forever. And I will say that they are not cheap. Like the kilt alone was something like, oh dear, about 800 New Zealand dollars. So that would be maybe 600 US dollars. So I mean, just for because the kilt is really just part of the whole setup, right? The main part, but yeah, by the time you buy everything else, it's almost a lot of Scottish people spend years gathering all the pieces, which I did.
Wow. Well, congratulations, because that's commitment. So, on what occasions do Scots wear kilts?
The vast majority would be weddings, and I don't know if it's this type of thing you've seen at weddings, but even overseas I find there's always, even if it's not a Scottish wedding, there's always at least one guy with a kilt. That's what it seems like anyway. And when I got married in Scotland, a lot of my extended family, which is Canadian, or my wife's family, they jumped at the chance to wear a kilt, and everybody came out with the kilts, and so weddings would be your number one.
I love that. I really want to go to a Scottish wedding now.
Yeah, they're a lot of fun. The second one would be Hogmanay. Have you heard of Hogmanay by any chance?
New Year's Eve festival?
Yeah. So Hogmanay is, I mean, we could talk about it more, but it's New Year's Day, New Year's Eve is a really big thing for Scottish people. It's almost a week long. Actually, it is a week long thing, and you just see tons of people wearing kilts then. But honestly, any excuse to wear a kilt, and I'll wear it. So that's my view on it anyway. And I know I'm not alone.
You're a big kilt fan then.
Yeah. It's definitely not a daily thing because, it's just not really something that...
So you wouldn't feel kilty for wearing it. Ho-ho.
Kilty. No.
I like to say puds sometimes on my videos, so...
That was not bad. I'll give you 6 out of 10 for that one.
What? Only 6?
Yeah.
Okay, comment below if you think I should get more than 6 out of 10 on that pun. Okay. What is one of your favorite Scottish foods or candies?
The first one that comes to mind, I don't know if I would say it was... It's a drink. It's a soft drink. Does that qualify as a food?
Yeah, I think we'll qualify it.
Okay, so there's a drink in Scotland called Iron Brew. Okay, I don't know if you've heard of it.
No.
It is the only soft drink, or pop if you want to call it that, it's the only country in the world where it outsells the biggest one, which is Coca-Cola. And Iron Brew is just absolutely dominant in Scotland. Now, I don't have any Iron Brew with me here because I can't get it where I am right now.
Wow.
But I do have this little, and I'm showing it up here, this little Iron Brew taxi cab, which was a gift with a little stand, but I converted it into a Christmas tree decoration. So I drilled a hole through it and I put a wee string through it, and so it's kind of like a 2-for-1. This is the classic taxi cab that you get in the UK and in Scotland. Normally they're black, but this one is orange and blue because it's dressed up in Iron Brew colours. So yeah, it's a bright orange fizzy drink, and I don't think anybody really knows what's in it. It's maybe a wee bit of a mystery as to what is actually inside it. It just tastes really, really good.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Is that something that you have to go to Scotland to get, or like you could somehow order on Amazon?
You can get it in North America. I actually can get it where I am, but it's a little bit more restrictive right now. But you can get it. It's a little bit more expensive, and often at this time of year I usually treat myself to some Iron Brew, but it's so dominant that they even do make Iron Brew like candy bar as well.
Oh wow.
It's insane. There's Iron Brew like everything in Scotland, so yeah, it's the other big candy thing we have is just crisps, which would be potato chips, and we have like all the flavours that you could think of. I'm sure there's haggis flavoured.
That's
crisps
a perfect segue into my next question, which is, what are your thoughts on haggis?
I love it. Haggis is awesome, especially if it's a really spicy haggis, which it should be. And yeah, it's you've got to try it and have a good one before you can really judge it.
Can you explain what it is exactly?
So traditionally, now this is why a lot of people get put off the idea of haggis, right? Traditionally, it is all the leftover bits of the animal, the offal, OFFAL, that is, not awful, you know what I mean. It's all the leftover bits of an animal that you normally wouldn't eat, mixed together with oats and various leftovers, and all cooked in a sheep's stomach. Now that is how they did it back in the day. Now it's more premium ingredients, and I don't think they cook it in sheep stomachs anymore. I think they actually use a synthetic stuff. I don't know what it is, but when you see a haggis, it looks as though it's wrapped up in some sort of clear rubbery wrapper, and then you slice it open and it bursts open, and it's amazing. All I can tell you is that it is amazing, and everybody should try it.
Is it like a Scottish version of a hot dog?
Oh, a Scottish version of a what, sorry?
Hot dog.
Oh, hot dog. Oh, God. Okay. I guess you could say in a sort of roundabout way that a hot dog shares some basic similarities with haggis. However, haggis is far more premium, I would say. It's a far more premium food. Hot dogs, maybe not so much. Although I'm sure you can get gourmet hot dogs too, right? So,
Like premium in terms of health or just like flavor?
I would say both actually. I would say a good haggis. A good haggis is not fatty, and it's not greasy. It's actually very, unlike a lot of Scottish foods, which are very greasy and fatty. I could tell you about the deep fried pizza, but that's maybe another conversation. And the deep fried Mars bar. But the haggis is, when it falls apart on your plate, it's very oaty, and it's just not greasy at all or anything. It's really good. It's meat, oats, spices. Yeah, it's good premium Scottish food.
Well, I might consider trying haggis now that you've talked it up. Still staying on the food subject, what's a Scotland only food chain that you would recommend to someone?
Really, the only thing that would take that place, take a food chain's place that you might go to in other countries, would just be the classic Scottish pub. That is somewhere that people go for a meal, and yeah, some of the pubs are chains. They're owned by the same people, but I think that's the closest thing I could think of that you could describe as a chain, and that's really just because there are pubs everywhere.
My next question from my handy dandy journal for you: what hot spots would you recommend to travelers who visit Scotland?
Of the places I've been, and some of them would be at the top of any tourist list anyway. And I'm from Edinburgh, of course, like I've said. Edinburgh Castle is not to be missed. It is probably number one. Probably because it's one of the best examples, I would say, of a dominant medieval fortress sitting in the middle of any city, including Edinburgh, which is it can be quite a modern city. You're not allowed to build higher than the castle. It has to stay the dominant feature. So
Wow.
When you're up there, it really feels like you can feel how it would have been hundreds of years ago. You can see in every direction where the cannons are pointed. If anybody ever tried to scale those black volcanic rock walls, you can. It's very imposing. So Edinburgh Castle would be probably the top of my list. One thing that I know of, but I haven't seen it yet on my trips back, and this is kind of the opposite. This is a modern thing, but as I understand it, it's become very popular as a kind of a tourist thing, is the Falkirk Wheel. So there are two canals that meet in a place called Falkirk, and the canals are tidal. I mean, they match the level of the rivers and the tides at each end, I guess. So there's a big height difference where the canals meet each other, and there's this giant modern wheel, which the boat goes in at the top and it spins around. It spins around and they come out the bottom and so on and so forth, and it just looks really cool. So that would be something worth a look at. And another one would be and it's another more recent one. It's a giant sculpture of two horses called the Kelpies. And if you Google it, you'll see, just Google the Kelpies and go to Google Images, you'll see them. They just look incredible. And I guess you go to Scotland to see castles and old stuff. So Stirling Castle would be another one that you'd want to see. And just honestly, you could just spend years looking at castles. So again, where I'm from in Edinburgh's built on a whole bunch of extinct volcanoes, right? And the biggest one is called Arthur's Seat, which sits right in the middle of the city. And it is just the most peaceful, beautiful place where you can easily walk to the top of this extinct volcano and just gaze over this medieval city. And yeah, I mean, you gotta do that. You just gotta do that. It's awesome. Yeah.
Well, now I have my bucket list full of Scotland stuff to see, but are there any like activities that you think are also a must do? I know that that golf is a big thing in Scotland.
Yeah. I'm not a golfer, but even if you're not a golfer, St Andrew's Golf Course, which is considered the oldest golf course in the world, I think it is the oldest in the world, it would definitely be worth a look, just to see the grounds and the cute little bridge over the burn. A burn is a stream. But yeah, activities, ghost tours, guided walks, you just soak up all that history. One thing I like to do, even, and this would be, I think, for anybody, even if you're not religious, would be to go into any cathedral. My favourite one is called St Giles Cathedral on the Royal Mile in Edinburgh. Just go in places like that and walk around and read all the plaques and read all the stories on the etched into the walls. You're really, as an activity, I mean, it's more just reading and learning, but you really soak up a lot of history, and you standing someplace that's so old, you really kind of just feel it. But as another activity, I guess, and I think I mentioned it earlier when I was talking about the kilt, is Hogmanay, which is the New Year's celebration, which goes on for about 4 or 5 days. And there is one activity which is a lot of fun, and that's called a torchlight procession, where everybody gets a torch, a flaming torch, and there's thousands of people, and they all go on a route around. And it's not just in Edinburgh. These things happen all over Scotland. But yeah, get involved in something like that. It can be a lot of fun with all these like thousands of people all marching down the street with torches. Not that you're going to, destroy anything. It's purely just for fun. So
That sounds
I think
awesome.
you're supposed to put it out at the end when you get to your destination. So
That's really cool. Oh, so many fun things to do in Scotland. I just getting really excited thinking about it. What's a popular event that's unique to Scotland?
I've never been to this one, but it's called Up Helly A, and it's up north in north of Scotland. I think it is actually in Shetland, which is the islands of the north of Scotland. And they have a big fire festival there, where they set fire to like a Viking. I think about Star Trek too much. A Viking galley, a Viking ship, a Viking longship. I'm not exactly sure why they set fire to a Viking ship. I believe they cherish their Viking heritage, but I wonder if this is like the one time of year where they suddenly turn on the Vikings and hate them. I'm not too sure. So
All I know related to the Vikings is, like, I believe to have a Viking funeral, they set the person who has passed away on fire, and like floating away.
That's right. Yeah. Vikings and ships and fire seem to be like the main ingredients for some, as far as I know.
Exactly.
Yeah.
I mean, it sounds pretty epic, though.
It does. Well, anything with fire, right? I mean,
That's true.
Yeah.
What are some iconic Scottish musicians?
I think the first answer to that would be the Proclaimers. And that would be, I don't want to sing it, but you must know the I would walk 500 miles and I would walk 500 more song. I don't think I should sing it, but the Proclaimers, they're an Edinburgh duo. They're twins. Have you heard of the Boards of Canada?
No.
They're
But that
like
doesn't sound Scottish.
I know it doesn't sound Scottish at all. But you know what bands are like? They like to be a little bit cryptic with their names. So, yeah, and it was years. I was listening to them for years before I realised they were Scottish. They're more of a ambient kind of. I don't know how you describe them. They're definitely more modern, but they are really huge, like internationally.
Where has been one of your favorite places to visit in Scotland?
I would say, if I had to just pick one, probably Loch Ness. Loch Ness is pretty cool. There's something about it. I think there really is something in there. So, something deep in the icy waters of Loch Ness.
And can you explain what that spot is?
So that spot is a diagonal slice right through Scotland. It basically, in a way, cuts Scotland in half. If you look at it on maps, you'll see that there's a line from Inverness all the way down through Loch Ness, and I forget what's at the other end, but it's basically an almost straight line where I believe two landmasses collided and formed what we call Scotland today. And it's believed that because of that collision, that there are some spooky, extremely deep, icy cold waters way, 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 way down, which is why many of us are extremely confident that the Loch Ness Monster is real.
This makes so much more sense now.
Yep, it does, doesn't it?
I was wondering about the Loch Ness Monster and how that came about.
Yeah, I think maybe a prehistoric creature was trapped in the ice and got smashed into Scotland, preserved, and then thawed out, and now he just swims around and waves to the tourists.
Wow.
So, yeah.
Fun times. Where would you like to visit one day?
Oh, I really struggle with favourites. If somebody asks me my favourite music, I'll give them a big list. Favourite places, where would I like to go one day? I want to go everywhere. I love travelling. I don't think there is really anywhere I wouldn't go. But me and my wife had a bit of an unfortunate attempt to visit India one day, and she twisted her ankle badly, and we had to leave.
Oh no.
Yeah. I'd love to go back to India and do it properly, because we kind of missed out. I've always wanted to go to Russia, and I don't know why, but I really want to go to Vladivostok for some reason. It's like one of those random little big cities that nobody goes to that I know of, and I just want to see what's there. So, yeah.
I have actually been to Russia, but only St. Petersburg, and saw the like royal palace. Got to do a little tour.
Right.
Yeah, that was really cool.
It looks beautiful there.
I remember that everyone on the tour, like our first stop was going to a vodka shop, and everyone had a shot of vodka at like 8 a.m. in the morning. So I was like, only in Russia.
Yeah. Sounds like fun, though.
What's one thing that we haven't discussed yet that you think people should know, either about Scotland or Scots?
A lot of Scottish people, I would say most, love immigrants and are probably more, how do you say, I wouldn't say more interested in immigrants as such, but I love it when I see someone who you would at a glance regard as ethnically Indian or Chinese or Pakistani or whatever, and they are just as Scottish as me, and they will say all the same phrases as me, all the same slang as me, and we love that. I love that.
So, I think we should cap it off with an ASMR trigger. So, show us what your favorite trigger is.
I think my favorite trigger is possibly what we've been doing, which is soft-spoken rambles, but I do like mic brushing sounds with, I mean, this is I don't know what you call this exactly, but I call it Putin's hat. I have a video called Putin's hat, which I think it's funny. It looks like a Russian hat on top of my microphone. So I'm doing it right now. Mic brushing, I guess. Fuzzy mic or fluffy mic brushing, I think is one of my favorite triggers. So, yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us today. And I think I'm really excited to go to Scotland now. I was excited before, but now, like, even more excited to one day go to Scotland.
I'm glad to hear that.
Thank you for your insight, and otherwise, I hope that everyone has a wonderful, relaxing day.
Thank you. Take care, everybody.
Flutters away.